Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So in this video, we will be doing 2020 in review. First starting off with my channel, then going into Rebel, and then at the end going into the coronavirus that is plaguing the entire world. Not just US and India, the entire world. But first of all, let's just head on over and see RandomNewz Rebel Service 2020 in review. I am excited to see this. I have seen it, but I still have the reaction as if I would. But so click start. Okay, first, let's go back all the way. And this wasn't made on December 27th, 2020. All the way to January 1st, how I began at 15 subscribers, 2.89 thousand views, and 161 uploads. Number 3, 9,000 views. Number 2, 36,000 views. And number 1, 68,000 views. I just want to say thank you. Performance from last year, a 2,000% increase, a 4,000% increase, and a 109% increase. How I'm ending the year? A lot. But let's just see it with awesome. So on January 1st, how I began, I had 15 subscribers, 2,890,000 views, and 161 uploads. My top 3 uploads of 2020 is number 3, Cozumel, Kristine webcam in Vivo, a live webcam, Delta de Huracan, or Hurricane Delta, with 9,721 views. Live webcam, Hotel Hard Rock, Cancun, Mexico, Major Hurricane Delta de Huracan Major, with 36,481 views. And number 1, with 68,298 views, we have live webcam, Hotel Hard Rock, Cancun, Mexico, Major Hurricane Delta de Huracan Major. So in 2019, with last year, when I started my channel, so on January 1st of this year, I have 15 subscribers, as I've already said. But now, I actually think I have more than 417. Oh. I think I have like 430. 1 second. I need to go and find it out. Okay, so I actually have 436 subscribers. So probably about a 3,000+% change. Views gained, I had 2.89 thousand, and now I have 147, and that's about 5,000% change. And then videos uploaded 172 up to 361, which is a 109.88% higher thingamajig. Percent higher. So how I am ending the year: 432 subscribers, 436 now, 149,522 uploads, which plus 1,536 likes, 8,000 comments. Now that is crazy. 8,000. 700 shares, thank you, and 6,000 hours watched. Wow. What a year. Let's face it, 2020 has been a rough year. Through it all, video has helped us to bring together and unite as a community. We believe it is more important than ever to take a moment to celebrate you and everything you have been able to accomplish this year. We are so proud of the entire two-buddy community of creators. Let us be the first to toast RandomNewz Weather Service in 2021. May it be your best year yet. Happy creating, Team Buddy. Rob G, Eric, Renee, Alex, Katie, Andrew, Ike, Anna, Tammy, John, Rob B, Jasmine, Judah, Phil, Jim, Chuck, and Buddy. I think this one's Buddy. But so yeah. So first of all, thank you. That's crazy. All these statistics, stats, and I just want to say thank you so much. And yeah, so now let's head on into the weather. So this is the 2019 to 2020 Australian bushfire season. This was a strong one. It's also known as the Black Summer for Australia, just because it kind of was. So Sydney's George Street blanketed by smoke. Oriel Valley fire scene from Tuganog. Damaged road sign along Bell's line of road. Gospels Mountain bushfire smoke plume viewed from the International Space Station. And one of these two is uncontained bushfire in southwest Sydney. It's out of that. But one second, sorry. So these statistics is Australia nationwide. June 2019 to May 2020, approximately 18 million hectares or 46 million acres. Started fires due to lightning strikes, accident, or alleged arson, and people have actually been arrested. And then NASA estimated that 306 million tons, or metric tons, or 337 million short tons, or U.S. tons, of CO2 has been emitted. The drought, the enhanced files, is drought, global warming, positive Indian Ocean dipole, which I believe is bringing, which is a dry wind, and if it was a negative, then we would see more rain instead of wind. Substantial fuel loads and high temperatures. Building destroys its 9,000 plus, over 3,500 plus homes, and 5,852 plus outbuildings. Deaths is 34 direct and 445 indirect smoke inhalation. Sorry. So the state or territory, the Northern Territory, 0 fatalities, home loss 5, area estimated, because we still don't know what the actual amount is 6.8 million hectares or 16.8 million acres. New South Wales, 26 fatalities or 2,448 homes lost, and 5.5 million hectares or 13.6 million acres. Queensland, 0 fatalities, 48 homes lost, 2.5 million hectares, 6.1 million acres. Western Australia, 0 fatalities and 1 home lost. 2.2 million hectares, 5.4 million acres. Victoria, 5 fatalities, 396 homes lost, 1.5 hectares, 3.7 acres. South Australia, 3 fatalities, 151 homes lost, 490,000 hectares or 1.2 million acres. Australian Capital Territory, 0 fatalities, 0 home loss, but 86,464 hectares or 213,000 acres. Tasmania, 0 fatalities, 2 homes lost, 36,000 hectares or 89,000 acres. The total is total 34, 3,500 plus homes lost, 18 million hectares, 46 million acres, and total area estimate as of February 13, 2020. Bushfire smoke over the Sydney Opera House and the Sydney Harbour Bridge on December 29th. I keep having to flip the December and the 29th due to that I am in the US. But this entire thing is not about the US. This is about the other thing. But New South Wales, trying to read through this, 11,000 bushel grass fires. That's a lot. And 6.3 million US gallons of fire retardant, or just what they use to kill the fire, or 5.3 million imperial gallons, or 25 I think megaliters is million liters, I'm going to assume. Victoria, I'm trying to get what the actual amount is. But all the fires in Victoria has finished, of course, by February 27, 2020. Southeastern Queensland, or Queensland, you can see the smoke there. But started September 7, 2019, and I can't really find what the finishing date is. South Australia, it started on November 11th, 2019, and it ended, can't really find, but now, but people, I cannot speak. But there has been, koalas, that are being rescued because they are on the endangered list. But for Western Australia, November 13th, 2019, and then May 3rd, May 3rd, 2020 is when it finished. Tasmania, late October 2019, and it finished January 16, 2020. Australian Capital Territory, we see that it started January 2nd, 2020, and then ended on February 27th, 2020. And then the Northern Territory, we can't really see when it was found or finished. CO2 emitted by 2019-2020 Southeast bushfire captured by NASA Aqua Eels instrument. So there we go. And then international aid, Canada, 86 Canadian firefighters were sent to help. Oh, sorry about that. 15 personnel from the Royal Canadian Air Force Base to provide airlift support. Fiji military forces to send on out. France. So a team of 5 French firefighting experts arrived on January 9th. On February 1st, 39 personnel from Indonesia, 26 Army engineers, 6 Corps Mayor, 4 Air Force facility construction personnel, and 2 TNI medical department. Japan sent 2. I don't want to learn about the C-130s. I'm not really caring about the C-130s at the moment. Just let me get to where I was. Okay, Japan sent out 2 C-130s aircraft to the JAS-DF. I think that's trying to mean the defense. Japan. Just 2 aircrafts, along with 70 other self-defense force personnel to help. On January 5th, Malaysia offered its assistance, and 40 firefighters, over 40, and then 20 of them were with other. Over 50 New Zealanders were deployed to Australia. I'm trying to go through all this. And then the second team of 4 arrived on 13. And on January 8th, more personnel to help with the wildlife. Papua New Guinea sent out 1,000 military and other personnel to assist Australia. Philippine Red Cross donated $100,000 to Australia. Singapore deployed 2 Chinook helicopters and 42 Singapore Armed Forces. UAE sent out 200 volunteers, and a Twitter campaign and hashtag #MateHelpMates was launched by Dubai Expo 2020, aiming to raise donations to those affected in Australia. U.S. deployed 332 firefighters. The U.S. firefighters died in a crash of a C-130 firefighting aircraft. Denmark offered 50 firefighters, but was deemed unnecessary from the Australian government. Romania prepared 75 fighters to be deployed through the Emergency Response Coordination Central. Australia rejected this, as well as the EU called for more bushfire help. Turkey's Melbourne consultant donated $14,500 to Queensland Fire and Emergency Services. The Foreign Ministry of Ukraine notified Australia that the Ukrainian government is ready to send 200 seasoned firefighters to help fight the fires. Some Pacific nations also helped. Well, I think we can now finish this. Oh, okay. The nations. Okay, the nations. Philanthropists. I can't say that word. Corporate organizations, celebrities, and sports people donated to various fundraising appeals for bushfire victims and firefighters, estimated for $500 million Australian dollars. Andrew Forrest and his wife Nicola donated $70 Paul Ramsey Foundation donated 30 million, and all these are also in the Australian dollars. James Packle pledged 1 million to support the NSWRFS. The Crown Resorts Foundation and the Packle Family Foundation pledged a further 4 million to volunteer fire services in Northwest Wales, Victoria, and Western Australia, all states in which Crown has resorts. The Murdoch family donated $5 million. The Mickey and Madeline Ayrton Family Foundation, $1.5 million, and donations of $1 million each was received from Foundation John and Pauline Gandel, Mike Cannon Brooks, Scott Farquhar, and the Haynes and Parrish families, and Justin Hems had donated $500,000. Corporate organizations to make donations or pledge include the Seven Group and Kerry Stokes Private Investment Firm, Ace Capital Equity, and a combined total of $10 million. Tim Cook from Apple donated an undisclosed amount. The NAP and News Corp Australia, $5 million each. Closed Group, $4 million each, of which $3 million was in gift cards. The Australian Football League, $2.5 million, $2 million BHP, Westpac and Woolworths, $1.5 million each. Facebook, $1.25 million. Amazon, the ANZ Bank, the Alsatian Foundation, the Commonwealth Bank, Orica, Qantas, and Rio Tinto, $1 million each, and Canva and the San Diego Zoo, $500,000 each. Leonardo DiCaprio donated $3 million US or 3.4 Australian dollars via Earth Alliance. Kylie Jenner, US 1 million. Ellen DeGeneres, 1.5 million Australia, and donations of 1 million Australia were received from Sir Elton John and Chris Hemsworth family. Pink donated 500,000 US dollars, 720,000 Australian dollars. Metakalia donated $750,000, and donations of $500,000 were received from Nicole Kidman and her husband Keith Urban, Kylie and Donnie Minogue and the family, and Betsy Midler. Unknown. 500,000. Sorry. Total. Tennis players. Nick Krigos, led by Nick Krigos, pledged to donate money for every ace served during the Australian summer of tennis. Many cricket players, such as international representatives Chris Lynn, Glenn Maxwell, D.R.G. Short, Matthew Renshaw, and Fawad Ahmed, pledged to donate for every wicket and all the six during the remainder of the cricket season. Shane Warne and Jeff Thomson, retired Australian cricketers, donated their baggy green test wicket caps, and Thompson also donated a playing vest for online auction. Rain's cap was purchased by the Commonwealth Bank with a bid of 1 million Australian dollars. Russell Crowe's Rabioth's cap was auctioned in excess of $500,000. Footballer soccer player, Matthew Ryan, goalkeeper for Premier League club Brighton and Hove Albion, and the Australian national team announced he would donate $500 for every registered save by an English Premier goalkeeper on the weekend of 11-12, January 22nd. Australian stars playing in the 2019-2020 NBA season collectively donated in excess of $1 million Australian dollars. And Lewis Hamilton, a Formula One driver, donated $500,000 US. And comedian Celeste Barber launched a fundraiser appeal with a target of raising $15 Australian. However, it went up to $50 million Australian, making it the largest fundraiser ever held on Facebook. A telethon conducted with the Sydney New Year's Eve fireworks raised more than $2 million. Irish YouTuber Jacksepticeye raised over $200,000 on January 26th through a charity livestream. And then we can't see any more scams of fraud. Multiple media outlets reported that the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, ACCC, received 86 reports of bushfire-related scams. It came as increased requests for cash-driven donations, leveraging crowdfunding platforms like GoFundMe, or as a result of false links posted on Twitter. But yeah, wow, that was a handful, but we have to keep on going. So now we are talking about the first or the highest storm or the strongest storm for January, severe tropical cyclone Claudia. On January 4th, the BLM noted the formation of a weak tropical low over Indonesia's Maluku Islands. Very weakened due to strong wind chill, but very warm surface temperatures, 32 degrees Celsius or 90 degrees Fahrenheit, allowed it to strengthen. And then we see that forming throughout Claudia. On the next day, the system was upgraded to Category 2 on the Australian scale. And then we see 963 millibars, 150 kilometers per hour, 90 miles per hour. And the duration was January 5th to January 18th. And on the Saffir-Simpson scale, it was a Category 1 storm. When the system was a low, portions of top end Australia received unusually large amounts due to the system slow movement. Darwin received 45 millimeters or 1.7 inches of rain. Nunamar received 56 millimeters or 2.2 inches of rain. Piralon Gympie received 80.8 millimeters or 3.1 inches of rain. Charles Point received 151 millimeters or 5.9 inches of rain. And Dom and Mary Island received a staggering 410 millimeters or 16.1 inches of rain as a result of this entire system. For February, it was intense tropical cyclone Gabekile. Whoa, wait a minute. Huh? I am so confused. Okay. 105 miles per hour is a Category 2. Oh my gosh. This is... But the top one, Gabekile, is supposed to be a Category 2. The next one is also another storm. That will be next up on this list, actually. But, so we see 950 millibars, 165 kilometers per hour, 105 miles per hour, February 13th through February 17th. But yeah. So Cyclone Herold, it was a powerful tropical cyclone that affected Madagascar and the Mascarene Islands. It was the 8th moderate tropical storm, 6th severe tropical storm, 5th tropical cyclone, and 2nd intense tropical cyclone of the slightly above 2019-2020 Southwest Indian Ocean cyclone season. It formed on March 2nd, 2020. It peaked on March 17th, 2020 at 175 kilometers per hour, 110, and for sustained for 1 minute. It reached 115, so it was actually a Category 3 for this storm, or 185 kilometers per hour, 957 millibars, or 28.26 inches in mercury. 5 fatalities, and the damage is unknown. Areas affected is Madagascar, Tromilion Island, Mauritius, and Rodriguez. But we still haven't seen real damage or knowing. But so for Madagascar, so a green alert was issued for Madagascar, and then the next day it was a yellow alert. Heavy rain was recorded in Madagascar on March 13th. 95 millimeters or 3.7 inches fell on Sambava. Intense flooding occurred in the Ankavana River, which threatened more than 1,000 people. 5 people were killed in the Sava region. Flooded impacted more than 100 schools. Homes were swept away. And near the Andrefosty River, people were affected. By March 17th, the water level had decreased a fair amount for the community. That day, the water level has rose to 6 feet or 2 meters. 13 of 20 municipalities in the Mara Nostera district were underwater, and 28 houses has been destroyed in the town of Malevona and Marantestra. 104 homes were affected by storm surge. A school in Anjanazana was found with puddles of mud in its classroom. The effects didn't end until the cyclone alerts were lifted on March 17th for the entire island to shoring it up for Madagascar. 5 deaths for the rainfall, 95 millimeters or 3.7 inches. Storm surge, 6 feet or 2 meters. 911 homes were flooded. 178 huts were damaged. 127 residencies were destroyed in Madagascar. And Mara Nostera, 79 classrooms were damaged, and 24 were damaged in Santa Maria. In the Mascarene Islands, on March 18th, a Class 4 cyclone warning was issued for Rodriguez. In the Mascarene Islands, maximum sustained winds of 115 miles per hour or 185 kilometers per hour was recorded when Herold passed between the islands of Mauritius and Rodriguez. on March 17th. It made schools close and caused 80 people to seek refugee and accommodation centers. In the islands, the damage was minimal. In most areas, it was limited to downed trees and power outages. However, a gust of 130 kilometers per hour, 81 miles per hour, was located in Nisarga Duval Airport. Maximum rainfall was no more than 29 millimeters, or 1.1 inches. And Herold also briefly passed over Reunion, but there was no known damage there. I am going to stop here, but the next storm is Cyclone Herold. But I am going to stop here, but I'll be back soon, and you guys will see me literally in 1 second. Hello, we are back for Cyclone Herold. Yes, we are just on Cyclone Herold, but we're back on to Cyclone Herold. So, 2 Cyclone Herolds? Well, let's see. First, let's take away all those whenever they can. Okay, slowly but surely, but we'll get there. Slowly but surely. Finally. Okay. So, severe tropical cyclone Herold was a very powerful tropical cyclone which caused widespread destruction in the Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, Fiji, and Tonga from April 1st to April 11th, 2020. I am going to make this shorter, so let's just head on over to the... there's a lot. Okay. Herold was retired. Okay, cool. Herold was retired. But 145 miles per hour to 130 kilometers per hour, which is a category 4, but did bump up to 175 miles per hour to 170 kilometers per hour, and the lowest pressure was 920 millibars, or 27.17 inches in mercury. 30 deaths, 125 million US dollars, and areas affected was the Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, Fiji, and Tonga. But I'm just gonna finish this first section. Severe tropical cyclone Herold was a powerful tropical cyclone which caused widespread destruction in the Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, Fiji, and Tonga during April 2020. It was the first Category 5 tropical cyclone in 2020. The seventh named storm of the 2019-2020 Australian region cyclone season. That was difficult, but okay. Eighth named storm and fourth severe tropical cyclone of the 2019-20 South Pacific cyclone season. Herold was first noted as a developing tropical low within a throw of low pressure during April 1st. While located to the east of Papua New Guinea, on the next day, the system moved southeastwards over the Solomon Sea before it was classified as a tropical cyclone and named Herold by the Australian Bureau of Meteorology. The system moved into the Fiji Meteorological Services area of responsibility on April 2nd and began to explosively intensify by April 3rd. Reaching Category 4 status by April 4th on both scales. Wow. The next day, it further strengthened into a Category 5 severe tropical storm, the highest rating on the Australian scale. It made landfall on Espiritu Santo on April 6th, which is rare. It's the largest island in the nation of Vanuatu. I believe that's how you say it. So, Vanuatu? I think that's how I said it, but On April 6, shortly afterwards, the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, JTWC, upgraded it to a Category 5 equivalent cyclone on the Saffir-Simpson scale. It maintained this status for only 6 hours before being downgraded back to a Category 4. Herold was the first Category 5 severe tropical cyclone to occur in the South Pacific Basin since Cyclone Gita in 2018, and was also the second strongest tropical cyclone to ever affect Vanuatu, behind Cyclone Pam in 2015. In total, 27 people died on the MV Taimero in the Solomon Islands, 2 in Vanuatu, and 1 in Fiji. Now, super cyclonic storm Amphan. And you might think, oh, okay, it's Amphan. No, it's Amphan. But we are just going to read this section and also down here. So it was a super cyclonic storm. It was near peak intensity over the Bay of Bengal on May 18th. It formed on May 16, 2020, and dissipated on May 21st, 2020. 150 miles per hour, or 240 kilometers per hour, and 1 minute was 160 miles per hour, or 260 kilometers per hour. Large pressure is 920 millibars, or 27.17 inches in mercury. Fatalities is 128 total, 13.7 billion 2020 USD. Costliest on record in the North Indian Ocean. Affected India, West Bengal, Odisha, Andaman Islands, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Bhutan. It was the fourth strongest storm, included with Goni, 1990 Andhra Pradesh, 319 and 3 1991. Like Kaira, which was just a year later in 2019, and also Fani, which is down here. But so here is impacts. This was when the COVID pandemic just started. And it was here a pandemic. But super cyclonic storm Amphan was a powerful and catastrophic tropical cyclone that caused widespread damage in eastern India, specifically West Bengal and then Bangladesh in May 2020. It was the strongest tropical cyclone to strike the Ganges Delta since the deal of the 2007 season, and the first super cyclonic storm to have formed in the Bay of Bengal since the 1999 Odisha cyclone. It was also the first super cyclone that hit West Bengal since 1582 after 1737, 1833, and 1942, as well as being one of the strongest storm to impact the Earth, causing over US $13 billion in damage. Amphan is also the costliest cyclone ever recorded in the North Indian Ocean, surpassing the record held by Cyclone Nargis of 2008. The first tropical cyclone of the 2020 North Indian Ocean cyclone season, Amphan originated from a low pressure persisting a couple hundred miles, 300 kilometers east of Colombo, Sri Lanka, on May 13, 2020, tracking northeastward. The disturbance organized over exceptionally warm sea surface temperatures. The Joint Typhoon Warning Center, JTWC, upgraded the system to a tropical depression on May 15th by the Indian Meteorological Department. IMD followed suit the following day. On May 17th, Amphan under rapid intensification and became an extremely severe cyclonic storm within 12 hours. Wow. Well, I have to go real quick. I'll be back in just 1 second. Hey guys, so I am back. Sorry that I kind of had to take that 1 second break. But I am back. So on May 18th at approximately 12 UTC, Amphan reached its peak intensity with 3-minute sustained wind speeds at 240 kilometers per hour, 150 miles per hour. 1 minute sustained wind speeds of 260 kilometers per hour or 160 miles per hour, and a minimum central barometric pressure of 920 millibars or 27.17 inches in mercury. The storm began an Iowa replacement cycle shortly after it reached its peak, but the continued effects of dry air windshield disrupted the process and caused Amphan to gradually weaken as it paralleled the eastern coastline of India. On May 20th, between 10 and 11 UTC, the cyclone made landfall in West Bengal. At the time, the JTWC estimated Amphan's 1 minute sustained winds to be 155 kilometers per hour, 100 miles per hour. Amphan rapidly weakened once inland and dissipated shortly thereafter. Coastal areas in West Bengal comprising Midnapore, North 12 Paragonas, North 24 Paragonas, South 24 Paragonas, Kolkata, Hooghly, and Howrah, as well as Odisha, were affected by the cyclone. It also caused significant damage in Bangladesh. Okay, let's head on over to Cyclone Nisarga. This was the strongest storm. Nisarga making landfall on Maharashtra on June 3rd. It formed on June 1st, 2020. Dissipated on June 4th, 2020. 3-minute sustained winds is 70 miles per hour and 110 kilometers per hour, 85 miles per hour and 140 kilometers per hour. So that is a tropical storm or a severe cyclonic still on the IMD scale. 984 millibars or 29.06 inches in mercury. I am reading this portion right there. Severe cyclonic storm Nisarga. Severe cyclonic storm Nisarga was the strongest tropical cyclone to strike the Indian state Maharashtra in the month of June since 1891. It was also the first cyclone to impact Mumbai since Fawn of 2009, the third depression and second named storm of the annual cyclone season. Nisarga originated as a depression in the Arabian Sea and moved generally northward. On June 2nd, the Meteorological Department (IMD) upgraded the system to a cyclonic storm, assigning the name Nisarga. On the next day, Nisarga further intensified to a severe cyclonic storm and turned to the northeast, ultimately making landfall approximately 95 kilometers or 60 miles south of Mumbai. Nisarga rapidly weakened once inland and dissipated on June 4th. Nisarga was the second cyclone to strike the Indian subcontinent within 2 weeks' time after Cyclone Amphan, the first supercyclonic storm to have ever formed in the Bay of Bengal in the 21st century, devastated the state of West Bengal in May 2020, making landfall in Maharashtra with winds of 110 kilometers per hour or 70 miles per hour. Nisarga became the second strongest storm to strike the state in the month of June since 1891. Before Nisarga only had two depressions that had struck Maharashtra in the north in the month of June in 1984 and 1980, respectively. Let's head on over to Hurricane Douglas. Hurricane Douglas actually switched through too. You actually could see a few videos on Hurricane Douglas that I created. But Hurricane Douglas at its peak in the open Pacific on July 23rd, it formed July 20th, 2020, and dissipated July 28th, 2020. It reached 130 miles per hour as its peak and 215 kilometers per hour, 954 millibars, and 28.17 inches of mercury. Fatalities, none damaged, minimal areas affected, Hawaii. Hurricane Douglas was a strong tropical system that became the closest passing Pacific hurricane to the island of Oahu on record, surpassing the previous record held by Hurricane Dot in 1959. The eighth tropical cyclone, fourth named storm, first hurricane, and first major hurricane of the slightly below average 2020 Pacific hurricane season. Douglas originated from a tropical wave which entered the basin in mid-July, located in favorable conditions. The wave began to organize on July 19th. It became a tropical depression on July 20th, and a tropical storm the following day. After leveling off as a strong tropical storm due to dry air, Douglas began rapid intensification on July 23rd, becoming the season's first major hurricane the following day and peaking as a Category 4 hurricane. After moving into the Central Pacific Basin, Douglas slowly weakened as it approached Hawaii due to the cooler temperatures in water. The storm later passed north of the main islands as a Category 1 hurricane, passing dangerously close to Oahu and Kauai, causing minimal damage and resulting in no deaths or injuries. Douglas weakened to tropical storm status on July 28th as it moved away from Hawaii before dissipating a day later. So we actually have two storms that tied for the strongest storm for August. We have Hurricane Laura and also Typhoon Haishen or Kristine. But let's head on over and talk about Laura first. It formed on August 20th, 2020, dissipated on August 29th, 2020. Hurricane Laura near peak intensity while approaching Louisiana late on August 28th. Highest winds were 150 miles per hour. Lowest pressure was 937 millibars, 27.67 inches in mercury. 77 fatalities, damage about $16.1 billion USD in 2020. Areas affected: Lesser Antilles, Greater Antilles, the Bahamas, Gulf Coast of the United States, Midwestern United States, and Eastern United States. Hurricane Laura was a deadly and destructive Category 4 that tied with the 1856 Last Island hurricane as the strongest hurricane on record to make a landfall in the state of Louisiana, as measured by maximum sustained winds. The 12th named storm, 4th hurricane, and first major hurricane of the record-breaking 2020 Atlantic hurricane season. Laura originated from a large tropical wave that moved off the West African coast on August 16th and became a tropical depression on August 20th. Laura intensified into a tropical storm later a day later, becoming the earliest 12th named storm on record in the North Atlantic basin, forming 8 days earlier than 1995's Hurricane Lewis. Laura first hit the Lesser Antilles and brushed Puerto Rico as a tropical storm, then moved across the island of Hispaniola, killing 31 people in Haiti and 4 in the Dominican Republic. The storm then moved across the length of Cuba, prompting tropical storm warnings and the evacuation of more than 260,000 people there. Subsequently, the outer rain bands extended into the Florida Keys and South Florida. Laura then moved across the Gulf of Mexico, strengthening slowly at first before a period of rapid intensification on August 26. That day, Laura became a major hurricane and later attained peak 1-minute winds at 150 miles per hour, 240 kilometers per hour, making it a Category 4 hurricane. Early on August 27th, Laura made landfall near peak intensity on Cameron, in Cameron, not on, in, near Cameron, Louisiana. This is the 10th strongest U.S. hurricane landfall by wind speed on record. The storm caused the death of at least 42 people in the U.S. and inflicted an estimated $16 billion in damages on southwestern Louisiana and southeastern Texas near the Gulf of Mexico. After landfall, Laura weakened as it moved inland, becoming a tropical storm later that day and weakening further to a tropical depression over Arkansas the next day. On August 29th, Laura disintegrated. I think it's trying to say disintegrated or weakened into a remnant low over Kentucky before being absorbed into another extratropical storm near the east coast of the U.S. shortly afterward. Overall, Laura caused more than $16.1 billion in damage and 77 deaths. Areas that were affected by Laura, namely the Gulf Coast, were affected again 6 weeks later by Hurricane Delta. Typhoon Haishen or Kristine. It reached peak intensity on September 4th, August 30th, 2020 to September 10th, 2020. It became extratropical after September 7th. It reached 195 kilometers per hour, 120 miles per hour. 250 kilometers per hour and 155 miles per hour was the highest that has got, which is a Category 4 hurricane, super typhoon, or hurricane, typhoon, and it is a major typhoon. 910 millibars, 26.87 inches in mercury, 4 fatalities, 6 missing, damage $100 million. Areas affected: Mariana Islands, Japan, South Korea, North Korea, and northeastern China. Typhoon Haishen, known in the Philippines as Typhoon Kristine, was a powerful tropical cyclone that became the first super typhoon of the 2020 Pacific typhoon season, being also the 10th named storm and the season's 5th typhoon. Haishen's origins can be tracked back to a disorganized low-pressure area situated near Guam. While the disturbance tracked southwestward and quickly organized, the JTWC, Joint Typhoon Warning Center, I believe, issued a tropical cyclone formation alert, TCFA, on the system, and a day later, on September 1st, the system became a tropical depression. The depression strengthened into Tropical Storm Haishen, according to the Japan's Meteorological Agency, as it moved southwestward. At about 12 UTC on September 2nd, the Philippine Atmospheric, Geological, and Astronomical Services Administration, or PAGASA, shorted, indicated that Haishen has entered the Philippine area of responsibility and was subsequently named Kristine. Later that day, Haishen became a typhoon. Intensification on September 3rd was significant, drifting northwestward into extremely favorable conditions. Haishen became a Category 3 equivalent typhoon, acquiring a pinhole eye, so a very small eye, before undergoing an eye replacement cycle, EWRC. Strengthening resumed soon after JTWC assessed wind speeds of 135 knots or 155 miles per hour, 250 kilometers per hour, as it peaked as a Category 4 super typhoon and had attained a new symmetrical clear eye. Traversing northward toward land while gaining latitude, ocean heat contact became unfavorable for supporting such a strong system, and while the central pressure decreased, the system wind speed began decreasing. As the structure began degrading, the eye's former shape was no longer present, and it appeared ragged on satellite imagery. And the VOC analysis indicated that Haishen was beginning to weaken steadily. On September 5th, Haishen began to lose its eye as its inner eye wall began contracting, and it subsequently weakened to a Category 3 equivalent typhoon. On September 6th, Haishen made landfall on Japan and South Korea as a strong Category 2 equivalent typhoon. Haishen was the third typhoon with a span of 2 weeks to make landfall in the Korean peninsula, others being Bavi of the 2020 season and Masak of the 2020 season. Okay, now we are heading back on over to the please. I'm so sorry. Okay. Now we're heading on over to the Atlantic. Hurricane Teddy. Hurricane Teddy, shortly before peak intensity over the North Atlantic on September 17th, formed September 12th, 2020, dissipated September 27th, 2020, extratropical after September 23rd, ice winds 1 minute sustained 140 miles per hour, 220 kilometers per hour, 945 millibars, 27.91 inches in mercury. 3 fatalities, about $35 million in 2020 United States dollars. I am so sorry about if you hear any background noise. Lesser Antilles areas affected: Lesser Antilles, Bermuda, East Coast of the United States, and Atlantic Canada. Hurricane Teddy was a large and powerful Cape Verde hurricane that was the fourth largest hurricane by diameter of gale force winds recorded and produced large swells along the coast of eastern United States and Atlantic Canada. In September 2020, the 12th tropical depression, 9th named storm, 8th hurricane, and 2nd named major hurricane of the record-breaking 2020 hurricane season. Teddy initially formed from a tropical depression that developed from a tropical wave on September 12th. Initially, the depression's large size and moderate wind shear kept it from organizing, but eventually intensified into Tropical Storm Teddy on September 14th. Oh, past too far. Okay. Can't remember where I finished. So, after steadily intensifying for about a day, the storm rapidly became a Category 2 hurricane on September 16th, before moderate wind shear caused the storm to fluctuate in intensity. It then rapidly intensified, passing east of the rapidly intensified again on September 17th and became a Category 4 storm. Internal fluctuations in eye-wall replacement cycles then caused the storm to fluctuate in intensity before weekends some as it approached Bermuda. After passing east of the island as a Category 1 hurricane on September 24th, Teddy re-strengthened back to Category 2 strength due to baroclinic forcing. It weakened back down to a Category 1 hurricane the next day before becoming a post-tropical as it approached Atlantic Canada early on September 23rd. It then weakened to gale force low and made landfall in Nova Scotia with winds of 75 miles per hour. It executed a large loop as it accelerated force northward and then eastward north of Newfoundland, briefly strengthening back to a tropical storm force low before weakening again and losing its identity on September 27th. Tropical storm watches and warnings were issued for both Bermuda and Atlantic Canada in preparation for Teddy. Its large size caused high waves and rip currents to impact hundreds of miles from its path, ranging from the Lesser and Greater Antilles to the east coast of the United States and Atlantic Canada. 2 people in Puerto Rico were drowned from the strong waves, while another drowned in New Jersey. Total damage is estimated to be at least $35 million. Next is Typhoon Goni or Wally. Difficult for me to say, but this is for October. It's the seventh most costliest Filipino typhoons. So yeah, but let's head on up. So this one is Typhoon Goni or Wally. I'm just going to say or Typhoon All, just because that is pretty difficult for me to say. So I'll just be saying Typhoon All if it does pop up. Typhoon Goni at peak intensity just prior to landfall in the Philippines on October 31st, so Halloween, if you celebrate Halloween. Formed October 26, 2020, and dissipated November 6, 2020. Highest winds are 220 kilometers per hour, 140 miles per hour. And the highest winds is 195 miles per hour, or 315 kilometers per hour. So this is a extremely strong storm. 905 millibars, 26.72 inches in mercury. Fatalities 32 total. Damage 415 million US dollars. Areas affected: Philippines, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. Typhoon Goni, known in the Philippines as Super Typhoon or, was an extremely powerful tropical cyclone that made landfall as a Category 5 equivalent super typhoon on Catanduanes in the Philippines and became the strongest landfalling tropical cyclone on record by 1 minute winds, eclipsing the previous record held by Haiyan and Moranti. The 19th named storm, 9th typhoon, and second super typhoon of the 2020 Pacific typhoon season. Goni originated as a tropical depression south of Guam on October 26. It was then named as Tropical Storm Goni on October 27th. On the next day, Goni explosively intensified over the Philippine Sea, becoming a Category 5 equivalent super typhoon on October 30th. Goni maintained Category 5 strength for over a day before making landfall on Catanduanes at peak intensity, with 10-minute sustained winds of 220 kilometers per hour, 140 miles per hour, and 1 minute sustained winds of 315 kilometers per hour, 195 miles per hour, with a minimum central pressure of 905 millibars, or 26.72 inches in mercury. It was the second most intense tropical cyclone absorbed in 2020 after Cyclone Yasa, and one of the most intense tropical cyclones on record. Following its first landfall, Goni rapidly weakened while it moved over the Philippines. The storm brought severe flash flooding to Legazpi, as well as a lava flow from the nearby Mayon volcano. There were widespread power outages as well as damaged power and transmission lines in Bicol. Crops were also heavily damaged. Over 390,000 out of 1 million evacuated individuals have been displaced in the region. Due to extreme wind speed of the typhoon, 2 evacuation shelters had their roofing lost. Debris and lahars had also blocked various roads, as well as rendering the Basaud Bridge impassable. In Vietnam, where Goni made landfall as a tropical depression, there was flooding in numerous areas, as well as eroded and damaged roads. This exacerbated the 2020 Central Vietnam floods, causing an estimated 493 billion Vietnamese dollars, I assume, or 23.5 million US dollars. Billion. Billion Vietnamese dollars and million US dollars. In all, the typhoon killed at least 32 people and caused at least 20 billion Filipino dollars or 415 million US dollars worth of damage. The COVID-19 pandemic was also a concern for people in evacuation centers. After Goni moved to the West Philippine Sea, it subsequently weakened into a tropical storm. It started to move gently westward towards Vietnam. It eventually reached the country late on November 5th as a tropical depression, bringing heavy rain and gusty winds. International relief from several countries, as well as the United Nations, followed soon after the typhoon moved away from the Philippines. The relief included donations totaling up to $148 million US or Filipino, I assume US, and protection from the pandemic, among other items. Due to the damages caused by the typhoon, the name "O" will be retired and placed with a new name for a future typhoon season. So let's hand on over to Hurricane Iota. Then Yasa will be in December. Let's head on over with Iota. Hurricane Iota at peak intensity approaching Nicaragua on November 16th. Formed November 13, 2020. Dissipated November 18, 2020. 160 mile per hour winds, 260 kilometer per hour winds. Lowest pressure 917 millibars, 27.08 inches of mercury. Fatalities 61 total, 41 missing. Damage for $1.4 billion 2020 USD. Areas affected: ABC Islands, Colombia, especially San Andres and Providencia, Jamaica, Central America, particularly Honduras and Nicaragua. Okay. Hurricane Iota. Hurricane Iota was the latest known Atlantic hurricane ever to attain Category 5 intensity, and only the second Category 5 Atlantic hurricane to exist within the month of November on record, the other being the 1932 Cuba hurricane. Iota caused severe damage to areas of Central America already devastated by Hurricane Eta just less than 2 weeks prior. The 31st and last tropical cyclone, 13th named storm, 33rd named storm, 13th hurricane, and 6th major hurricane of the record-breaking 2020 Atlantic hurricane season. Iota originated as a tropical wave that moved into the eastern Caribbean on November 10th. Over the next few days, the wave began to become better organized, and by November 13th, it developed into a tropical depression north of Colombia. The depression strengthened into Tropical Storm Iota 6 hours later. The storm was initially impacted by some wind shear, but a central relocation and relaxed shear allowed Iota to quickly strengthen into a hurricane on November 15th, after which it underwent explosive intensification, becoming a Category 5 hurricane the following day. This made 2020 the fifth consecutive Atlantic hurricane season since 2016 to feature at least one Category 5 hurricane. After weakening slightly, Iota made landfall in northeastern Nicaragua as a high-end Category 4 hurricane, becoming the strongest recorded hurricane to make landfall in Nicaragua in November Iota then rapidly weakened as it moved inland, dissipating on November 18th. The Purposeful wave to Iota generated flash flooding in most of the Caribbean islands. Tropical storm watches and warnings were issued on November 14th in parts of Colombia, Nicaragua, and Honduras, with the latter two countries still recovering from Eta 2 weeks prior. Heavy rains associated with a tropical wave in Iota brought heavy rainfall to parts of Colombia, leading to flash flooding and mudslides. Extremely heavy rain fell from on much of Nicaragua, rendering flash flooding caused by the hurricane's high storm surge. Mudslide caused extensive damage and multiple deaths. At least 61 people were killed due to Iota, and at least 28 in Nicaragua and 16 in Honduras, among other countries. As many as 41 people are currently missing. A preliminary estimate for the damage in Nicaragua is at $564,220,000 USD in that country alone. Total damage estimates for hurricane at currently $1.4 billion USD dollars in 2020. Planning for relief efforts soon followed, which include placing tents, opening temporary hospitals, and delivering food and water to those in need. Numerous power outages were restored in the days following Iota's destruction. Downed trees and blocked paths have slowed down rescue teams. Donations worth hundreds of millions of US dollars have been given to affected country. An estimated total of 5.2 million people were affected by the storm, while hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced. We are on Cyclone Yasa. Yasa. And this is the strongest storm in 2020. Cyclone Yasa at peak intensity on December 16th, formed December 11, 2020, dissipated December 24, 2020, extratropical after December 19th, 250 kilometers per hour, 155 miles per hour, 260 kilometers per hour, 160 miles per hour, 899 millibars, or 26.55 inches in mercury. Fatalities is 4 total, 1 missing. Damage is unknown. Areas affected is Vanuatu, Fiji, and Tonga. Severe tropical cyclone Yasa was the strongest tropical cyclone in the South Pacific since Winston in 2016, as well as the fourth most intense tropical cyclone on record in the basin. It was also the second Category 5 severe tropical cyclone in 2020, after Herold in the 2019 South Pacific cyclone region. Yasa was the second tropical disturbance, as well as the first tropical cyclone and severe tropical cyclone of the 2020-2021 South Pacific cyclone season. Yasa was first noted as an area low pressure to the north of Port Vila and Vanuatu during December 10th. Over the next few days, the system gradually developed further as it absorbed tropical depression 01F before it was classified as a tropical storm and was named Yasa by the Fiji Meteorological Service on December 13th. The system gradually moved through the South Pacific Ocean, going through a small, slow loop, which rapidly intensifying in about a day. It became Category 5 severe tropical cyclone on the Australian scale, and a few hours later, a Category 5 equivalent cyclone on the Saffir-Simpson scale. With a 1-minute sustained winds of 260 kilometers per hour, 160 miles per hour, and a minimum pressure of 899 millibars, 26.5 inches of mercury. This made Yasa the earliest Category 5 tropical cyclone on both the Australian scale, 10 minutes sustained, and the Saffir-Simpson scale, 1-minute mean. In the South Pacific Basin, since reliable records began beating the old record of by Cyclone Zoe in 2002 to 2003, it became the most intense tropical cyclone worldwide in 2021. Yasa maintained its intensity and became more defined on satellite imagery as it brought down on Fiji. An address was sent to the entire country from the nation's Prime Minister Frank Bainimarama regarding preparations for the storm. Shipping services were halted, and fishermen were advised to not go into sea due to the fears of Yasa possibly injuring or killing them. Multiple warnings were issued, including heavy rain, heavy wind, and flood warnings. Soon the entirety of Fiji was under warnings as Yasa neared. A high wind warning was put in place for Vanuatu as the storm wind field reached the country. Impacts began to be felt midday December 16th as villages in Malolo and Wasaya groups began to feel the winds and rain from Yasa. The impacts from Yasa were large and wide as December 22nd impacted areas are beginning to restore communication. Transportation was hampered as 72 roads in the country were closed due to fallen trees, power lines, and flooding. Heavy rain was recorded for most of the country. So far, 4 deaths have been confirmed. Damage is still being assessed. Many affected people had their access to water and food cut off. Fiji has been or will be giving multiple items for relief instantly following the cyclone's passing. Sorry, my brain just blanked. Laundry items, educational, and medical supplies were among the many items placed inside of the warehouse. These will be sent to Fiji to help recovery. Finally, the last thing, the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. I'm just going to go quickly through these. Coronavirus cases, 11 million. 81 million, deaths 1.7 million, and recover 57 million. But we're actually going to go with the highest active cases. So, in the millions, number 1 is US with 7.7 million. Then number 2 is France with 2.3 million. And then total cases, US at 19.5 million, India at 10.2 million, Brazil at 7.4 million, Russia at 3.0 million, France at 2.9 million, UK at 2.8 million, 2.2 million, Turkey at 2.1 million, Italy at 2.2 million, 2.0 million, Spain at 1.8 million, Germany at 1.6 million, Colombia at 1.5 million, Argentina at 1.5 million. Wow. Okay. Mexico at 1.3 million, Poland at 1.2 million, Iran at 1.2 million, Ukraine at 1,025,000, Peru at 1,006,000, and South Africa at 1,004,000 Guys, I think I have to end it here. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever I create another video. Bye-bye and stay